Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hi, this is John Barber. You are listening to The Pull Bag.
Will provide me with great pleasure.
You've just jumped inside The Pull Bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, and Image to IDW, Boom Studios, and Zenescope, we have everything right here. We cover things like Transformers, He-Man, superheroes, TMNT, and Radiant Black. Yeah, we have all that and so much more. It's all inside the Pull Bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So, without further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we're reading right now, here inside the Pull Bag.
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag. This is episode 521. I'm, of course, TFG1Mike, and joining me, I think, for the first time. You haven't been on this show before, have you?
Have I?
I don't think so.
Oh, wait, I know we reviewed movies and stuff. I think this is the first time we've done comics together.
Yes, this is Eduardo M. Frying something.
Fryer. I think like Fryer Tuck, Fryer Lawrence, Deep Fryer,
Never mind that. I'll join you. Just call me Fryer Duck. But we are here to talk about IDW Publishing's G.I. Joe World on Fire 10-issue series from IDW Publishing. There is also a one-shot called Castlefall, but that will be later in June that we actually review that. But we're going to talk about the 10-issue series from IDW, written by Paul Allor. Art was done by Chris Evenhaus, Nico Walter, Emma Vaselli, and Ryan Kelly. Colors by Brittany Peer, and the letters were done by Neil Yukatai. So, G.I. Joe, it's been a thing around the Geekcast Radio Network since Geekcast Radio, our flagship show, did Resolute as, I believe, our very first episode way back when in 2009, 2010. When did I don't remember when Resolute came out.
Resolute came out, I think, around the a little before Rise of Cobra, I think. I want to say so. That would be probably about around 2009ish or so.
Yeah, I think it was 2009. So Eduardo,
maybe 2010. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Eduardo,
did you know I actually wrote a fanfic? Resolute fanfic.
Oh no. Are you? Are you one of those he/she fans? Like, I have no problem with he/she, but like how it should have ended, kind of thing. Like, oh boy, they did it wrong, so I'm gonna do it better, kind of thing.
No. I mean, for the most part, I enjoyed Resolute.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, okay, there were some things that could have been done differently, but just I wanted, the whole reason I wrote it is because I wanted to continue I wanted to see the story continued. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna write my own little continuation. That's all it was,
Okay.
And then plus also, use more characters and stuff like that. Remind me, when we're done here, I'll gladly send I'll send you a link.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we released that May 22nd of 2009 is when we released that. So Resolute was somewhere around there. But yes, we are here to talk about G.I. Joe World on Fire, 10 issues. Holy wow. I'm just going to let you guys know right now, this is going to get heavy. This is going to get deep, and this is going to maybe possibly trigger some people. And the whole reason why I wanted to talk about this was not because that it was G.I. Joe, but because it was dealing with something I've dealt with in the past, which was in 1994. And I've told this story before, so if you people haven't heard it, then you haven't been listening to my podcasts. Things were going on in my life in 1994, and I tried basically whacking myself in the back of the head with a lead pipe. I tried committing suicide in 1994. Things were not going so well back then. So since then, I have been I've tried to be as active as I can in suicide prevention. And I remember when this World on Fire 10 issues hit, the first 6 issues, and then the 7th issue hit, and we're making this one free because it deals with suicide and everything else. So you people have been warned. If you are listening to the sound of my voice at 5 minutes and 18 seconds of this podcast, we will be talking about what happened in issue 7 later on. G.I. Joe in general, I've always been basically, you're the diehard, I'm kind of like the outsider kind of thing. So what did you think when you first read this? Was this the first time you read this, or had you read it when it initially released?
I read it when it initially released. I was really like, when I heard the premise, I'm like, huh, okay, that's actually,
Mm-hmm.
That is, this is interesting.
Yep.
G.I. Joe, as far as IDW is concerned, G.I. Joe, it feels like they could never really, like, get a feel for what they wanted. Before World on Fire, there was, like, 4 different G.I. Joe series that were supposed to be in the same continuity, but most of them at least half of them felt like something totally different. Like G.I. Joe Volume 4, it felt so different. Like, I tried reading it and I was like, I can't recognize who these people are.
Yeah.
This one, World on Fire, it's obviously obviously this is supposed to be something totally different.
It's totally
like
separate
continuity.
This is not the Real American Hero continuity. I mean, it has Real American Hero characters, like, it has some of the Real American Hero characters, and it has the Cobra characters and things like that, but it's not in with this is basically a complete one-shot miniseries, 10-issue miniseries, whatever, however you want to say in comic terminology of what it is. It's a series set by itself that tells a story beginning, middle, and end. And that's all it needed to be. That's all it should have been. And I personally have read other things that Paul Allor has done, and I love his writing, so I was interested to see where this was going to go, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've covered G.I. Joe here inside the Pull Bag. I don't think in our 10-year history we've ever covered any of the other G.I. Joe comics. And
if you have, it wasn't with me.
No, I know that. I'm just saying that I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.99755% that we have not, and I wanted our G.I. Joe coverage. Oh, okay, technically we have. This is our first foray into G.I. Joe by itself. But back in 2018, we did do Transformers versus G.I. Joe Volume 1, which is something completely and wholly different. But this is our very first, hey, look, it's G.I. Joe, let's go kind of thing.
Yep.
So,
Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Mm-hmm. So had you read any of other... Paul has done many other things. The only thing I remember off the top of my head is he did the TMNT Turtles in Time miniseries.
Ooh, I think this is my first time reading Paul Allor's stuff.
Okay.
Because maybe I read something else, but I don't realize it was him.
Right.
But yeah, this is at least the first time I am pretty clear that, I was reading Paul Allor's stuff.
Very cool, very cool. So, life during wartime. Oh boy, the first issue here.
Well, starting things off with starting things off with a bang, so to speak.
Quite literally.
The fact that it kind of, the lead-in did kind of showcase that we would be having a new character, Tiger, but it felt like the old standbys were there. We had Scarlet, we had Duke, we had Roadblock. And then, I
love how he says, folks. No, I love how he says, folks. We had Duke in quotation marks.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that if we get the first issue out of the gate, and we're not even we're not even 10 pages in.
Yeah, no, not even. And
we're not even 10 pages in, and Duke is killed. He gets shot in the head.
There's no coming back from that. You can't pick up from that one.
Yeah, it was like, well, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, I was hoping that was not going to happen, but when I saw,
wow, okay,
yeah, I was really hoping that was not gonna happen, but when I saw it happen, I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, and also it's like, it is. I mean, okay, it is a trope. It is a trope that. It is a trope that if you want to start things off, you gotta shock the reader. Let's shock the reader and let them know, this is not the same thing. And but I actually do like, though, that Duke's death is a part of the story. It's not just, well, we're going to kill this guy off, because it's like, hey, did you think we'd actually kill Duke off? You didn't think so? Ha ha! It's.
I mean, this isn't, oh my God, we killed the big red truck guy, and oh my God, everyone's hiding in their closets. We can't kill Duke. If we kill Duke, we're gonna have more kids hiding in their closets. Like, oh my God, no. But no, this is like, again, yes, you're right. You need some sort of. I just was not expecting it to be Duke. I don't know who I was expecting it to be get But I mean, it's kind of obvious that it is. But like like you're saying, this is, let's see here. This is like you said, it's on basically the 7th. It's the 11th page of what I'm looking at here, the trade. But yeah, 11 pages in, wham. But those previous pages, I was not. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting that, and that's what obviously they were aiming for. Like, here's a holy shit moment for you, folks.
Oh yeah, no, and then they also you also have kind of, if you don't mind me moving up a bit, as far as issues, there's also issue 9, which featured Tunnel Rat, and you had Tunnel Rat as the last man standing in a in a mission that went wrong.
Yep.
And it's like, wait a minute, hold on a sec. We're gonna, it's like you have references to all these characters like Dusty or Red Iron, all that, and it's like, oh, and by the way, they died before the events in the story, and some of them died like. They did not die heroically, and it's like, again, it's holy cow. We're gonna go here. We're gonna, these are characters and love, and they're not going to survive.
Yep.
And it's like, wait a minute. This isn't what This is not what I was expecting.
So
you don't.
Yeah, and the basis of this whole story, folks, is that Cobra it's a world on fire. Cobra has taken over, and the Joes in America surrender to them. Oh boy.
Yep.
It's a dystopian future if I ever saw one.
Or even dystopian present, because it feels
true.
It feels like this is this is like, okay, let's have the Cobra, the Joe Cobra conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But this is something, we're taking it from a different standpoint, where this isn't the Coast won the war before we even started. So it's like, okay, this is now the Joe's really behind the 8-ball.
And I just, and I just now realized as we get further into this, I'm like, as I was reading it, I was like, wait, why does Dr. Mindbender have Duke's? Oh, right. Hello. Cobra is the law. Oh, boy.
Well, and I mean, even it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, they're the law. Also, it's like, I don't, it's.
Well, I mean, like,
I don't even know how to,
just confused the hell out of me at first when I was reading, and I was like, wait a minute. Oh, right. America and the Joes surrendered to Cobra. So Cobra is now so instead of going to, like, Dr. whatever on Law and Order, you would go to whatever medical examiner. Your medical examiner is Dr. Mindbender. Did you really have to shoot him in the head? Really? Like, that's his biggest takeaway from Duke. Like, we could have examined his brain. Like, oh,
yeah,
God.
exactly. It's like, it's, the whole thing. You gotta love Mindbender's like, dude, why'd you shoot him in the head? It's like, forget everything. It's just, I could have shot him anywhere else. But that's Mindbender. I mean, and it's a nice, it's kind of a nice way to, to kind of show that this may be a different world, but some things are still the same.
Oh yeah, well, unless you completely
change.
Yeah, well, unless you completely change the character of Dr. Mindbender, he's going to be the same in every world, pretty much.
Yeah. Heck, even Renegades, there was still a little bit of the Mindbender we know and love.
Yep. And also during this whole point, during this, right before this, Scarlet was doing training with the new recruit Tiger, and she's like, land a punch if you can. And she's just kind of, because of her grief over Duke, she's just, basically he's got his hands tied behind his back. He doesn't, but he kind of does, because she basically just overpowers him every single time.
Yeah. And well, it's like I said, with Duke's, we had the thing with Duke's death.
Mm-hmm.
And, it informed Scarlet's character. Like, part of the reason that she, part of the reason that she's so hard on Tiger is that she's still trying to get over Duke's death.
Yep. Absolutely.
So it's, and that informs what, that informs everything. So, it's, I don't know, like, I don't know how else to put it. It's like, Scarlet's such a hard ass because, her,
I mean, it's just one of those things where, it's crazy. Yeah. And we get to almost to the close of the issue here. And was General Hawk always this old? Has he always been, like, portrayed as older than Flint and Duke and Lady J and just the rest of them?
I believe he is supposed to be older. I know that in the Marvel run there was an issue early on, like I think issue 8 or something.
Yeah.
Where he does say he's had I think like 20 or 30 years in uniform. Like he actually out and out takes like a number.
Yeah.
So, he's always supposed to be a little a little older. Not like, we're not talking like, Harrison Ford levels, but
that's the levels he looks in here. I mean, he's old and gray.
He's
got white hair with a gray suit, so
he is. It does feel like it does feel like he's a little older than
everybody else
than usual. Yeah.
And say what you will about the rise of Cobra, but having freaking Dennis, Quaid,
yeah.
Yes, as General Hawk, that was hilarious. That was amazing. Yeah. So the second issue,
that wasn't bad casting. I mean,
no.
I actually think that Rise of Cobra had come out like maybe a decade before. We could have had Harrison Ford as General Hawk, and I would have liked that, or even Charles Flagg, because there's usually a guy who's for Hawk, and like, hey,
So the issue ends with him making a deal with Destro, and the Clan Destro will provide you with weapons and whatever you need.
Yes, making a deal with Mars, Destro's company.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's something. I mean, that's kind of a surprise moment. But on the other hand, it's like Destro, for all the things, all the times he's been, chummy with Co-Commander, he's also been he's an arms dealer. So it's like, okay, we gotta, he's gonna, his interest is, can I, how can I benefit from this?
Yeah, Destro has always been a more competent and less. I mean, if he is traitorous, it's pretty much stated up front. It's not like backhandedness. So basically, Destro is a better version of Starscream.
Yeah, well, not even Starscream, because Starscream's all about power. Destro, he's kind of a type that he wants to make sure that no matter what he's a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
He's a businessman. He runs a business, so he wants to make a profit no matter what. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember if it's Destro's 1988 file card or if it's the file card of the Iron Grenadiers of the same year. Mm-hmm. But it states that what he will do is he will sell to both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He'll sit there, he'll give Commander a design for a new BIS tank, and then he'll turn around, talk to the U.S. government and saying, oh, you need some stealth technology for that new fighter you want the GOs to test out? Here. Why don't you try this?
Well, I mean, I was trying to make the Starscream reference because normally Destro is kind of, when he is aligned with Cobra, he is the second in command to the commander. However, now that you're saying this, I'm like, oh, he's just a Quintesson. Great. Because they were selling to both sides in the Quintesson Journal.
Yeah, although when it comes to the Decepticon Autobot role, they'll team with the Decepticons, no question, and then and then just be like, can you destroy the Autobots for us? Cool. Mm-hmm. Oh wait, we didn't mention that we were going to throw you right after. Oh darn! See, oh man, darn it! That totally slipped our mind. Oh, too bad. Hey, thanks for being our pawns. Later.
And 2 full pages into issue 3. Is it just me, or is that Optimus Prime at the border crossing?
Maybe.
I mean,
I'm not 100% sure, but I wouldn't be surprised with just a cute little Easter egg.
Well, obviously it's an Easter egg, but again, it's not a flat nose cab, sadly, but it's more of a movie cab with a G1 trailer look at the border where it says, have ID ready, delay will not be tolerated.
Yeah. Yeah, it might. I mean, it might be. It might be that, it was just, hey, let's throw in Optimus Prime just for fun, not to mention that when, given how dark and serious this particular series is, you can't fault the artist for being like, let me see if I can toss it up, let's just toss in this lighthearted thing, and it's not like they drove home by having the driver be called Mr. Cullen or something like that.
Yeah, or having a giant Autobot symbol on the cab there.
Yeah, exactly.
Been,
yeah, that was a little too much. Yeah,
and it probably is an Optimus Prime. I mean, that one shot is a nice little homage, but as we get to the next panels, there is a Cobra insignia on the driver's side of the truck.
Well, it could also be that, it could also be, hey, Optimus could be in disguise.
And I don't think he would go that far. He might go far. I don't think he'd go that far.
Well,
What I love about this whole issue 3 is that basically it's a roadblock leading a mission in Millville, Missouri, basically in the middle of nowhere, everybody.
Yeah. And it's also, you got a great tie-in to the classic stuff, because I know in the Marvel run there was a town called Millville that Cobra basically moved in and took over. So it's great to see Millville showing up again.
Yeah.
And apparently, if it continues to be believed, Millville is actually a real place.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Unincorporated rural hamlet in Ray County in the United States of Missouri.
Yep.
Part of the Kansas City metropolitan area.
Yep.
Okay, so hey, let's not only have a nod to the Marvel run, we've got it's an actual real life. You can actually go there and visit. You can go visit Millville and ask them, hey, do you know where I can, where I can find the local Cobra headquarters?
Mm-hmm. It's inside the Viper Diner.
Yeah. I'm sure that if you ask the Simpsons would be like, the hell are you talking about? What?
Mm-hmm.
What is your problem? Yeah. And hey, we got like another, it's interesting how the Joe's in, especially because it can be a little difficult to tell, oh, that's so-and-so, like in this case, Roadblock's working with Lightfoot.
Yep.
Not the, Lightfoot's not wearing a yellow outfit with like a green, black and green chest area and a blue helmet.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of have to listen. You're gonna have to listen to the dialogue for them to, to figure out. Oh, it's that person. Okay, yeah.
It's that character that no one really remembers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I liked it mostly because that he and Hardball are the first 2 88 figures that I own.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's like I didn't even know that they were out yet. I remember that my mom came home one day and was like, "Hey, look, JoJo figures," and it's like, "Whoa, wait a minute, new characters? What? New characters? Cool." Yeah.
So their objective is to blow up the bridge so Cobra can't, continue to bring weapons and other things and yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And that kind of sort of goes off without a hitch, but not really, because now Baroness has to report it back to Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
She wasn't in this enough. That's my at this point in issue 4, she was not in this enough to me, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is interesting because Baroness is supposed to be one of the one of like popular characters, and it's like, well, wait a minute, she's only in this. She's barely in this. It's like, what? What? But still interesting. I mean, it's always interesting to me. I had this thought when I was looking over the what do you call it? The IDW run of Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to see, like, how there are characters that not, that, you think would be in everything, and then they don't show up, like Grimlock. Grimlock of the Dinobots. It's Grimlock. It's the Rex guy. And there were years between appearances, and it's like, wow, that's interesting, because it's like you would think,
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it's like, oh, we're actually going to make Tailgate a popular character. It's like, what? Tailgate's going to be, you're going to make Tailgate awesome? Okay, wow. Hey, I'm not complaining. It's just, wow, okay. I never thought, it's like that to me, is like, oh, okay. I never thought I'd see the day, but that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, like I said, we kind of end on the Baroness having to report back to Cobra Commander. In the next issue, I have to highlight the cover for issue 4 because Kronos Magazine, Man of the Year.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, it took me like 4 seconds to really realize that there was magazine under the name Kronos. I was like, oh, I see what they did there. That's a good joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was... Oh, jeez.
So, in this one, Major Blood is remembering his actions when he started working for Cobra Technologies and some other stuff. I don't know what it like. I am so far on the outskirts of G.I. Joe. Outside of Cobra Commander, Baroness, and Destro, half of the other Cobra characters, I don't know. I know Dr. Mindbender sort of, but not really.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, it's like you said, you're the outlier. The huge fan. So it's like, I recognize a lot of these characters. I mean, sometimes if, a writer decides to like really, really tinker, then yeah, sometimes I'm like, wait, who's that? Oh, that's who that is. Oh, okay. Oh, I get it now. Okay, I get it now. It's that guy. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm loving the art though. The art in this is really good.
Interesting because it's there's a simplicity to it, but it works.
I wasn't really.
It's it's not quite. I mean, it's weird because, like, for example, the faces have a lot of definition, but it's still you can still get some expression out of it, and it's kind of it's interesting art. It's interesting art, but and it's one of those things where when I first saw it, I'm like, huh, but I'm like, actually, no, I can, no, I'm fine. This works for me.
Yep. No, it absolutely does, and it gets better and better as we go along.
Yeah.
Anything else on Dreadnoughtistan for issue 5?
Dreadnoughtistan. Oh, geez.
No. Yeah.
Dreadnoughtistan surprised me.
Yeah.
Only because it's like, we got the Dreadnoughts, but, they're actually helping the heroes. I kind of, it was weird. It was weird seeing the Dreadnoughts. Like, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and for like, oh, the Dreadnoughts betrayed the Joes at the end. But no, it didn't happen. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. That is an interesting take. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes me wish that this series had been more than 10 issues.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it would have been interesting to see more of the Dreadnoughts and more of kind of like, oh, how do they, what's their thing? You know?
Yeah.
Like, how is it that they, how is it that they're functioning,
Yeah. And it was strange seeing, or maybe it's not strange, maybe it's just strange to me. Zartan is their leader? Has he always been their leader?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. No, that's all. It's always been like that. He's always been leader of the Dreadnoks. And of course you have different iterations of the Dreadnoks, like the cartoon, they're all, they are all muscle, no brain. So, Zartan and his siblings are there to kind of like smack him around and go, shut up, knuckleheads. This is what we're doing. So, but yeah, he's always been the leader. And again, I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah.
More of kind of Zartan as this, leader of his people,
Yeah. And you could have you could have a whole side story with him and the Dreadnoks and do all kinds of stuff with them as a third faction of the G.I. Joe
exactly.
type stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. It would be interesting seeing them as like their own little faction. Like they don't want the Joe's help. They don't want Cobra. They don't want the Joe's help. Just get Dreadnokistan out of Cobra control, and that's all we want.
Yep. Absolutely. Issue 6 is The Fadeaway. This was interesting.
Yeah, I like the I do like the thing with I do like how we had, one of the new Joes, one of the other new Joes in this series, Fadeaway, meeting up with an old friend who is now working for Cobra.
Mm-hmm.
And, just like, it is something, the great thing about the world that this series creates is that it allows for stories like this.
Yeah.
Where you have a Joe and a Cobra who used to know each other before, kind of having to confront, their new stations in life.
Yeah.
I like that we're able to do this.
Yeah, because it's interesting seeing the opposing sides, not just, throw punch, shoot gun, fire missile kind of thing. And, that's a testament to the writing, it's a testament to the art, because this issue has all kinds of, not that the art is all over the place, but it has so many different juxtapositions between the outside and the snow and the interiors, and it's just blended so well. And the fact that that Jinx goes back to Snake Eyes, and that that's one way to get him in here, I guess.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's interesting that Snake Eyes. You would think that Snake Eyes would be a gimme.
Mm-hmm.
That would be like, oh, we gotta have Snake Eyes in the book. But the fact that he's barely in there, and the fact that they kind of end it on this open note.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's just so fascinating to me that it's like, oh, they want, we're doing a G.I. Joe book, and we're not just, well, hey, it's a G.I. Joe book. We got to have Snake Eyes. It's like, nope, Snake Eyes is going to be around. We're not going to see him in every single issue. And I'm sorry there wasn't more done.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal with Snake Eyes? What are he and, his clan doing about Cobra? Are they doing anything? What's the deal here? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yep. Although I don't think we will ever get the answers, because this series was not necessarily one and done, but there was no after it ended. That was it. And and I wonder. Go ahead.
Yeah, after Castle Fall, I was just like, I remember it came out, and I was just like, okay, is there more to this? And then nothing showed up for months and months. And I'm, when it was announced that IDW no longer has the Joe license, I'm like, well, I guess this answers my question.
Yep.
I guess we're done.
And I guess we can talk about that here. So far, as of May of 2023, we don't know. We know that, from what I know, Hasbro has a new partner for the Transformers license. I assume they also have. I assume it's going to be the same partner for all of their whatever. They've said that they have a new comic license partner, but they have yet to reveal who it. Like, that's all I care about knowing. I don't care about when the comics come or whenever or what stories they're going to do. I want to know who got that license. That's all I want to know. And
what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
What I've heard is that there is. We might get word on who has the license sometime in the summer, like either June or July. I do know I have seen posts by Larry Hama that say he is working on more Joe, because I know that when IDW lost the Joe license, that final issue. Yeah, I know that the final issue of the comics that Larry Hama was writing ended on a cliffhanger, and they do, and that it is going to be continued, because he did say, I'm working on issue such and such.
Yeah, and that's
which
great.
Indicated, okay, he's keeping the story going. We just don't know where yet.
Yeah.
I know that there was this independent company that said they were working on something Joe, and it turned out to be a Super Joe comic based off a toy line in like the 70s or so.
I mean, there have been
as far as Real American Hero,
yeah, there have been tons of rumors and tons of speculation since IDW lost the Hasbro licenses. I don't, especially with, and we mentioned this off air when we were talking before we started this, I don't think this will happen, but I think it would be absolutely ironic and silly and maybe fun if it went to DC. Only because we had it with Marvel in the 80s, and now I know it's never going to happen. I understand that.
I think
people have speculated Skybound, people have speculated other places. Look, I don't care when they release things. I don't care. Like, we have in specific to the Transformers world, and I don't know how, I don't keep up that much with G.I. Joe news, but every news article about a Transformers thing is like, oh, okay. Or like they'll do Transformers film news where they'll say, oh, this movie is filming here this week, and that will be one news story. Like, filming locations will be a news story, or this will be a news story, or that. It's kind of like, this meeting could have been an email. This news story could have been lumped in with like 7 other news stories. It didn't need its own spotlight kind of thing. But for whomever Hasbro has given the license to, I want to see that article because I want to know who the comic license is going to. That's all I want. I just want to know the name. That's it.
Yeah.
Whenever they decide to release stuff, they do. Yeah.
I am curious too. I want to know who has the license. I want to know what their plans are. Like, how are they going to continue Joe? How are they going to, what are they going to do with Transformers? Are they going to try and continue like the last continuity that IDW started? Is it going to be something totally fresh? What are they going to do?
Again, speculation. Yeah. I think whoever it goes to, they need to start fresh. Because the other thing I've noticed is, because IDW no longer has the license, all of the digital comics that IDW has had over the last decade and a half now, 13, 14, 15 years, are pretty much disappearing from Amazon, or disappearing since Amazon bought Comixology and fucked it up. That's all I'm going to say about that. I've noticed that the Transformers stuff from IDW is slowly disappearing digitally. Now, I know you can still get the physical, like, trade paperbacks and hardcover editions, but I'm assuming, assuming here, that whoever has the license, they're going to want to start new, because they're going to want to bring in that new audience. They're going to want to bring us in, who have been fans for years, but just like IDW, they're going to want to bring in a whole bunch of new fans too. When IDW did it back in 2012? No, IDW was 2005.
No.
2005.
IDW, I think, IDW started their Transformers thing like
it was 2005.
2000. Yeah, like 2005.
Yeah, it was 2005.
In 2011 or so, that was the 2010.
Yeah,
that was All Hail Megatron, where it's like, okay, we're gonna our universe is gonna keep going, but we're gonna like
renumber and rebrand. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so we're getting into issue 7, folks. A Soldier's Heart. I'm going to read this from Wikipedia because this is the note that they have on here, and this is informational purposes. This issue featured the special participation of Patricia Watson, Ph.D., U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, and Dwayne K.L. France, U.S. Army, SFC, LPC, as consultants in September of 2020. The issue was released free online during the National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month to coincide with the governor's challenge to prevent suicide among service members, veterans, and their families, which was sponsored by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. So if you have issues, folks, or if you have, like, we're not going to go super deep into this. We're going to, we aren't. And I already kind of told my story about my attempt back, 30 years ago. Anytime I see suicide, anything, anywhere, it's like, okay, do you need help? Do you want me to talk to you? Do you want to talk to somebody? I'm always trying to help. I've written up blog posts where I say suicide is not the answer. Please, if you need help, use these numbers, use whatever I don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
I actually, I'll confess something right now. A few years ago, I did lose someone to suicide.
I'm so sorry.
There was a friend. There was a friend. I mean, they weren't like a good friend, but they were part of the circle of friends that Patricia and I have here. And it was just the thing was that they would disappear. They would have a big social media presence, and then they would disappear. And, they would say about how they're having a tough time, and I would reach out to them, and I would say, hey, do you want to talk about it? Do you need anything? And, it's just one day, I'm off work, I'm waiting for my wife, and then I look at my, I go on Facebook on my phone, and I find out that, they'd killed themselves. And I just remember saying, damn it, like there was a while there where I was like, okay, is there something I could have done? Did I reach out enough? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was just, I mean, I don't dwell on it anymore, but it's like having that gnawing in your head of like, okay, was there something that I didn't, was there a way I could have gone even further?
Yeah.
That I could have prevented this.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not trying to make it about myself, but I'm just...
No, absolutely. No.
This is the thing. This is one of the things of when there's a trauma, it's like it affects everyone. This is not something that's just this secret pain. It's it's all over the place.
Well, it's also a thing of like and not just in suicide, but any trauma. It's like if people get divorced, if people this or people that or whatever else, it's how do you deal with that? Like how do you like if you're best friends with somebody, with let's say a couple, okay, if you're friends with both of them, well, and they, are no longer together kind of thing or whatever it is, whenever that happens, like, how do you approach that? How do you, like, whatever, it is what it is. But with the suicide stuff, it's so much, especially with, like I read the note here about who collaborated on the issue to bring awareness to all of this. And my uncle he's retired now, I'm pretty sure, but in the 90s, He was a Seabee in the Navy. He was overseas. He was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, all that stuff, all the Gulf War and all that. And I worried about him it was my dad's brother. I worried about him every night on the radio, listening to, and again, folks, for those of you who may be listening to this that were born after 1989, you probably don't remember life before the internet, but we didn't have internet back in 1990 when I was 10 years old, 91, 92, 93, 94. Yeah, no. Like, I mean, okay, 94 maybe, but you know what I mean? Like, we didn't.
Well, but yeah, the internet. Even if you had the internet at the time, it would have been as just basic.
Yeah,
really basic form.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, what those service people go through is a lot, and this issue, like, it's having Scarlett look back on her recovery after her trauma. And then, going through all the going to group or going to therapy or going here, going there. Mm-hmm. And she meets somebody in therapy who commits suicide, who kills himself.
Yeah.
And that kind of gives her like this whole retrospective thing, like you were saying, did I do enough? Did I not do enough kind of thing?
Yep.
And that's what this whole issue is about. It's about her dealing with her own trauma, as well as being traumatized by someone who, even though she barely knew the person, like, the whole ending to issue 7, I was like, oh my, like, she's like, look, I'm going to try the soda. And then all of a sudden that person isn't. I'm like, oh God, that just, it's hard. It really is.
Yeah.
Hard.
And it's, and it's also, it's interesting to the fact that I'm trying to think about this. It's like when I was thinking about this issue, one of the things I did was I tried going back, looking at the Joe catalog that we've had since the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, have they ever really touched on something like this, on the PTSD that these characters have to feel? And I was like, I struggled because I was like, I don't think so. I mean, we had characters traumatized by things that happened.
Yeah.
But this was something totally, this was like something totally different because they really showed it, and I was just like, like when the issue came out, I was like, holy cow, this is some awesome writing.
Oh yeah.
And then looking at it for this recording, I'm just like, I don't think they've ever touched on it ever.
Nope.
Because like I'm thinking about it, I'm like going through. I'm like, okay, wait, I know this happened in the Marvel run. I know this was in the Devil's Due run, but I'm like, yeah, no. I'm looking at it and I'm like, they never have. They never have until Paul Allor thought, okay, let me do this. Let's do this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I just got to say, kudos.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad this issue is out there. I almost thought initially, because I only really noticed the fact that IDW had the Joe license if something major, like major news was like this was major news. Yeah. This was everywhere because of the whole suicide prevention month thing and all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, does that mean it's only going to be like I didn't even realize, because I stopped following after the news died down about issue 7. I didn't even really realize up until we started doing research for it, up until we read that. I'm like, oh, this is technically an 11-issue series. We're going to do Castle Fall in a future episode, folks, but 10 issues, I didn't even think we were going to get 3 more issues because it's so strange going from issue 7 into issue 8.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of it's also kind of like the thing I think about is, I think about back in 2001, when we had 9/11 and how, Marvel stopped what they were doing with the Spider-Man comics and pulled out a special issue where it was, Spidey and other Marvel characters at Ground Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, how do you, and then the next month is going to be like, okay, we'll return you to our regularly scheduled program. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, if if you think you can, all right, cool. But it'll be interesting to see if you can.
Yeah.
And yeah, they did. They did go back to what they were, the storyline that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, but it is interesting. It's like, how do you go back to your main storyline after this?
Yeah. And
how do you do that?
Yeah, and I mean, because this has been it's not super, like, Scarlett's there. She's not super front and center all of the time, but she is training this new recruit Tiger and all of that. So she's kind of front and center. So to really put her front and center with issue 7, and man, I'm glad they did this. I'm glad that they had not only the guts, but just the wherewithal to do this and finally talk about something that not a lot of people talk about. And I understand why we don't talk about certain things, but just certain things have to be talked about at some point, or certain things, a light has to be shown on certain things, especially certain traumas and things like that. And, no one should take their own lives. Just please don't, folks. Well, if you need help, get help.
You know what? And it's like, but I mean, also I also kind of feel like, it's something that needs, it's something that should be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, and it's one of those things that also, because a thing that I've had to deal with in my life, not me personally, but I've had to deal with the effects of it, and that's addiction. And one of the things about that, for me, is that it's understanding the fact that addiction is a disease, and while we, it's just so easy, it can be so easy to tell a person, you don't have to drink that many beers, you don't have to smoke or inject this, but that it's not as simple. We would want it to be, it would just be so much better if it was, but it's not, it's not. And that's the other, that's, I think, also the thing that gets me with talking about suicide and suicide prevention, is that, it's, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. It can be so easy to tell somebody, please don't do it.
Yeah.
Please don't. But, there are other things. I mean, we don't know. Nobody can, I didn't know you in the 90s. I didn't know what you were going through. I didn't know what your mental state is. I could, I'm thankful that you're still alive.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. But, I can't just, it's not, I'm doing a disservice by simply thinking, it's just a matter of saying, oh, just don't do it. I'm here for you, man. Reach out to me instead. But it's not that easy for, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to tell someone, addiction, mental illness. It's just, it's so much, there's so many difficulties that are attached to it.
Yeah.
And,
they very much are.
I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be, and I don't want, I don't claim to be, it's just,
If I remember correctly, I've been trying to find it as you've been talking. I know right now, because we all have mobile phones nowadays. We all have cell phones. We all have smartphones. We all have whatever. You can dial 988 anywhere in the U.S. on a smartphone, and you can get help that way. There was, and I think it's still active, there was a 1-800 number for those that may not have a smartphone or a cell phone, or people that still have them. I believe, and I will try to find this and correct myself on this in the editing, but I believe it's 1-800-255-TALK. I could be wrong, but Google is failing at the moment. Folks, if you need professional help, dial 988, or you can go online to the suicide prevention website. I will have a link in the show notes for that. Just do what you can to help yourselves as best you can. And if it's just talking to somebody like us, or listening to our stories, or if it's talking to your friends or your family, just please speak up.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want anyone to feel like they're alone. I've felt that before, and it's not, it's not a good thing. It's not good to be alone with your thoughts when you're just, your mental capacities are going, because that's what sometimes it happens. So please reach out. All right. I don't know how we're going to get back on track, but I'm trying my best not to joke, because that was a serious thing there, but I don't know why I find this so weird and ironic. We just had an issue about suicide and suicide prevention. A Soldier's Heart was the title for issue 7. Issue 8, Our Toxic Friends. No, you should not have friends that are toxic. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's... Well, and I mean, we kind of get back into the heart of things, which is like, we get back into the heart of things, which is talking about, we go back to, the Joe's trying to take down Cobra. In this case, we get
bomb strike,
undercover, hitting on Dr. Venom. It's it's kind of this one. It's, well, first of all, the fact that it's they use, like, they could have used anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been Scarlet, it could have been Jay, it could have been CoverGirl, it could have been it could have been tricking, like it could have been anybody. And then they chose Bomb Strike, a character that was introduced in the toys, like back in 2004 or so, 2003, 2004. And, and they used her and crafting an interesting story, because it's all like, going in deep and needing to, like, going in deep, and what happens when you do, and and interesting that we even have, like, we even have Dr. Venom of all people. Like, we mentioned Dr. Mindbender, but Dr. Venom was like the first Cobra, mad scientist type, and just to have him. And it's like, we're getting Dr. Venom, and then it's like, by the end of the issue, you're actually feeling like, I don't know about you, but I felt sorry for the guy.
A little bit, yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, what? I'm feeling sorry for Dr. Venom? How is this happening?
Yeah.
I mean, this was a guy who tortured, his first appearance in the Marvel comics, he tortured Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, dude, you gave your heart out to this lady, and oh man.
She basically stomped on it with her 7-inch heel.
Yeah, and it's just like wait a minute. I'm experiencing. I'm feeling sorry for Dr. Mindbender. How is that happening?
Venom.
Venom. Sorry. Yeah, no. But it's like, see, that's the thing. I'm still trying to get over it. I'm like, Dr. Venom. This was some psycho guy, and I'm like, oh man, poor guy. He got his heart stopped. Yep. It's like, no, this is Dr. This is Dr. Archibald Benev. This is Dr. Venom. This was a guy who was like creating a biological pathogen that he wanted to use to poison the U.S. money supply. What? No, I don't want to feel sorry for this jerk. What the hell? Damn it, Paul! Why are you doing this? Why are you making me feel sorry for this grody individual? What the hell?
Yeah. Well.
What the hell, man? But yeah, and it's bombs, and then the use of the character Bomb Strike. It's like I remember her character was first mentioned because like her brother was a G.I. Joe, her other brother's an agent of Cobra, and there were file cards before she had a figure. There were file cards that mentioned at one point, the Cobra brother may have captured her and was holding her prisoner. And it's like then then later on her figure came out. I think one of the other figures of her brother, Barrel Roll, the Joe, I think did say, he rescued her. Mm. And it's like, I'm just like, okay, you have this story being told in the file cards. And I'm just like, are we going to ever get more? Like, I want more. I wanted this played out in the, in some form, like in comics or a cartoon or something. Because I was like, you got me hooked. And the most we ever got of, she was brought into the IDW stuff that was published, the IDW stuff that came out, that Hama did. Her character was featured there. But, like, as far as, like, both brothers showed up in the Devil's Due run. And she only had a one-page cameo, like a one-panel cameo, unspeaking, like, towards the end. And it's just like, Gah! No! Come on, give me something!
Nope, you get nothing.
Give me something here. I don't just want a one-panel appearance. Let's have the whole thing. Like the two brothers, their storyline was completely fleshed out, and she got a one. It's like, damn it! Come on here! What the hell?
Yep,
dude.
Yes. Yeah. So what an issue this was.
Yeah. No. Yeah. This was an issue. I mean, this was an issue. And dude, and then I mean, love seeing Chuckles. The fact that he's still going with the Hawaiian shirts, it's like, okay, all right, we're still doing the Hawaiian shirts. Okay, fine.
He's a Canadian diplomat.
Or at least acting as a Canadian diplomat.
Okay, so yeah, but like if you're acting as a Canadian diplomat, a Hawaiian shirt, I guess that technically would be a better disguise than a snowsuit.
Yeah, and I mean, and I guess I don't know. Maybe he's on vacay. He's on vacay, and
mm-hmm.
I don't know any Canadian diplomats, so I don't know. Maybe he's who knows? Today's Casual Friday, so it's like, and if he's got the right papers, hey, I ain't gonna complain.
And yeah, so man, what an issue. Issue 9, though. Oh boy, another one that.
Oh, geez, that's a rough one. Like,
yeah,
you had two. You had break, and then you had two more rough ones.
Yeah,
and it's like, holy cow, and it was just, I said it earlier, it's freaky that, you read this issue and it's like, oh, hey, hey, did you want to see Captain Gridiron here? Enjoy the one panel appearance, just seeing like all these characters just get cut down. It's like, Jesus, or like the fact that Ripcord got killed parachuting out onto the site. Yeah. And it's like, God, it's like the sick irony of it, because his whole thing is he is all about jumping out of airplanes. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this is the thing he's supposed to do well, and instead it ends up being the cause of death. It's just, although I did one thing I did like is you have that moment where like in the beginning you have Tunnel Rat is talking to one of the guys that gets killed, and the guy is like, we're not going to win this war. And then Tunnel Rat makes it out on his own. He rendezvous with his buddies, and Shipwreck's like, you know what, we're going to win this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's there's a part of me that kind of wishes that 9 and 10 had been switched.
Really?
Because think about it this way. If you would have had this, Tunnel Rat's story, mm-hmm. the issue 10 story, ending it with that line, with Shipwreck going, we're going to win.
Yeah.
And, and then, of course, it leads into Castle Fall. It's like, oh, yeah. Okay, now I see what you did.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying, except the fact that the way that it does end with issue 10 is that, it ends with Tiger, who was the new character that we kind of started the series out with.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're right. I'm not saying you're not right.
That's true. Oh yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think it's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, you gotta, on like either the one we got still works. Mm-hmm. Would it have been interesting to do the one that the thing that I said? Yeah. Did we need it? No. But yeah, it would have been interesting. But it is cool that we have Tiger, the guy that we started on.
Yep. Being
a part of things, being a part of the ending.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, with Tunnel Rat, becoming the last survivor of all of that and managing to destroy the factory, and like you said, Shipwreck shows up and saves him. Issue 10 is Lady J, which
Lady J undercover with when we have, that's weird because again we have another undercover issue.
Mm-hmm.
We have like another issue that revolves around somebody going on, it's weird because it's like 7 was a heavy issue.
Yeah.
Then we get Infiltrator. We get an Infiltrator issue.
Yep.
Then we get another heavy issue.
Yep.
And then we get another Infiltrator issue. It's like this weird kind of leapfrog.
Yeah, it's kind of like a back and forth thing. She wasn't always Frontier's wife, though, was she? It was her and Flint, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Frontier, I believe, is supposed to be this continuity's iteration of Flint.
Okay.
Because other than the beard, he looks like Flint.
A little bit, yeah.
And yeah, they've always been. And then I know with the Devil's Due stuff that they did put them together. They did actually have them get married before the events of before the Devil's Due stuff started. So they were husband and wife.
Very cool.
Yeah, and yeah,
You all right?
But yeah, the whole thing, the whole thing at the end, where she reunites with him and just goes and that was a great twist. I think only because it's like, the Flint character had been redesigned for this. It's like so many things are different. So to then have something where it's like, this is, these are the people you know and love.
Yeah.
To have that, it's like, okay then. Yeah. All right, okay. Huh. And what I do want to talk about, though, is the bat that goes crazy.
Yeah.
I feel there's so much attention put to the character that when I first read the issue, I was expecting for the bat to turn out to be somebody. That it would be like a character that we know and love. It's like, wait, it's actually this person, and you're like, what?
Yeah, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Optical
well,
flip?
I do know that, I know that in one issue we had Jinx go off on her own with Snake Eyes. Mm-hmm. So there was a part of me that was like, well, first off, until I noticed that the bat was female, at first I thought, is this going to turn out to be Duke? Is it that Mindbender, is Mindbender putting human brains in like battle android troopers? Is it going to be Duke? Is Duke going to be alive and well? Well, alive. I don't know about well.
Yeah, no.
And then, but then like, once I noticed, oh no, this is a female character, I was like, is it going to turn out to be Jinx? Like she left the Joes, hooked up with Snake Eyes. Is this going to be a thing where after she hooked up with Snake Eyes, she somehow got captured and Mindbender decided to use her as, his latest guinea pig? And then the bat just left, and I'm like, is this something that was going to be picked up later if this continuity was going to keep going? Like, would we have seen, would we have gotten something where it turns out it's like, holy cow, it's Jinx, It's actually Jinx,
Yeah, I think that would have been cool. I don't know if that would have worked, though, because Jinx, I don't know, Jinx is kind of she's a good character, but she was in there kind of spying on them, sort of, for Snake Eyes. So I'm not really sure if that would actually work.
Maybe not.
Could, who knows? Yeah. We'll probably never know at this point, but
yeah. I think you'd have to find Paul Allure at a convention and just be like,
or
hey,
just ask him on Twitter.
Was the bat ever supposed to be somebody we know?
Yeah.
So, maybe have to ask him and just be like, is this supposed to be, is this supposed to be somebody we know? What was going to be the deal?
Yeah, now that I've actually read through issue 10 twice now, so I can kind of see that Frontier really is a stand-in or a pseudo version of Flint. Yeah. But they used everybody else's name. I don't know why they couldn't have used his.
You know what? I don't know either. I don't know why. I don't know why it was Frontier instead of Flint. I'm just. It's like, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things. You got to ask Paul Allure on Twitter or talk to him at a convention. I'm fine with it. I didn't have an issue with it. I'm just, for me, I'm just like, look, I enjoyed the story. It was weird seeing Flint with a beard. Yeah. But, I don't, there are other things you can freak out about.
I'm not freaking out about.
Oh yeah, no, I know you're not freaking out about. I know you're not freaking out about it, but I'm just saying, as a general thing, it's like there are other things we can focus on, and we don't have to be all like, well, his name is supposed to be Flint, and why does he have a beard, and it's supposed to be like this. It's like, no,
Yeah.
I also thought it was weird that we had Roadblock as a pacifist, and one of his things was he was freaked out because he actually had to kill somebody.
Yeah, that was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. But, it's one of those things. I mean, something that I've gotten, I don't know if the word has gotten used to, but for me, it's like one of the things when someone's just like, this isn't how it was in this. It's like, you're right. It's not. But on the other hand, we're in, one of the things about, comics is comics are a multiverse.
Yep.
And as a multiverse, this means that there are going to be things that are not, there are going to be different variations. A character may feel the same, but they may be different because of. And it's like, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just another iteration. And the thing is that, the iteration of Flint or Duke or Scarlet or whoever that you like more than the way they were presented in this series, they're still out there. They are still, there are still ways you can read these stories and like them. And if you want to put blinders on and say, this never happened or that never happened, go right ahead. Like, honestly, I love some stories from the Devil's Due era. I hated the fact they killed Lady J.
Yeah.
I hated it. But you know what? I still have plenty of comics that I can read where she is alive and well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll be fine. I will just go back to the stuff where she's alive and well. I know in Hama's stuff she's still alive, so we're cool. We don't need to freak out about it. It's like, there's other things we need to we can focus on that have nothing to do with, you ruined my favorite character. How dare you, sir? They are not supposed to be, black haired and with a Latina background. They're supposed to be blonde haired. That is how the character was first created. Respect the creator. It's like, how about relax?
Oh boy.
Don't mind me. I see the rage, and I'm just like, what are you raging at, bro?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to rage about?
So yeah, is there anything we missed from the first 10 issues? The only 10 issues, but
I think we covered. We covered the important stuff. One fun little aside, though. For another project, I looked into. There's a G.I. Joe deck building game by Renegade Games.
Mm-hmm.
I looked into it. I play tested it a little bit. The art. There's like 2 cards for Major Blood. And both of them are actually from this series.
Oh,
it's
cool.
Major Blood as he's depicted in in World on Fire. So I thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was like, wow, okay, so we're gonna do this iteration of Major Blood. Okay, all right, no, okay. I mean, it's interesting. Maybe not what I would have done, but I'm me. And we still, again, we could still get a Major Blood, classic Major Blood, just like Mom used to make.
That's the wrong pudding, folks. That's not
worse.
That's not pudding you want to eat.
It could have been. Hey, at least Hey, look. At the very least, I wasn't trying to do bad poetry like Major Blood.
True. What surprised me was there wasn't much Cobra Commander. Like, he's in like maybe one or two panels. Like, he's not in this at all. Like, which is fine. We have 40 plus years or so of Cobra Commander things. It's like It works for the story that he's not here, that they constantly reference him and everything else, and that's all well and good. I like that Baroness is kind of sort of front and center. I like like you said, the kind of jumping around between issues. Like, we get this issue, we get that issue, we get it almost feels like a 10 episodic non-serial, even though it is overall serialized to be one whole story. Like you were saying, with going from issue 6 to issue 7 to issue 8, and how issue 6 and 8 are different than 7 and 9. And it's good. I really, really enjoyed it. So, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our rating and close the show out right after this.
You are receiving a transmission from the Rod Pod. Upload pending.
Stand by for soundtrack transfer.
I am Maggie.
And I am John.
And we are trapped, hurtling through space in a ship shaped like Rodimus's head.
The ship, for reasons we haven't been able to determine, contains the entire run of the IDW Transformers Phase 2 comic, which chronicle the events following the end of the war between the Autobots and Decepticons. So we figure we may as well read them all in order and report our findings to you. Stand by. Stand by.
Upload complete. Now.
The Rod Pod. Look for us at marriedwcomics.libsyn.com, at iTunes, at Stitcher, or wherever good podcasts can be found.
So, till all are one.
Till all are one.
Till all are one.
Like science fiction? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be listening to the Geekcast Radio Network. Well, the Marku 42's Universe podcast is an award-winning sci-fi radio show that's been around for over 10 years. We cover everything from Doctor Who to the MCU to pop culture and everything in between. A new show drops on Tuesday mornings on the GCRN website and all of the major podcast platforms. So listen to the Marku 42's Universe podcast from the universe and beyond.
Hey, welcome to the Last Comic Shop Podcast!
A comic book podcast that actually talks about comics.
Yep, each week we open the shop up and read and discuss a comic.
Sometimes we pair that up with comic book movies or TV shows.
Or not. Lots of times it's just comic books and sound effects.
Oh, yes, definitely lots of sound effects.
So tune in on all the major podcasting platforms for the Last Comic Shop Podcast. Or check out our library of evergreen shows at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
All right, folks, we are back here in episode 521 of The Pullback. It is the second week of May. G.I. Joe World on Fire. The first 10 issues, and again, you pointed this out to me. I knew about this series, but you pointed Castlefall out to me, and I didn't realize that Castlefall was the one-shot that was kind of like the exclamation point on this series. And I was like, oh, okay, well, because you told me, oh, let's do this and let's do this. And I'm like, okay, sure, we can do that. And then we can. So I created a completely separate episode for Castlefall because I thought it was a whole new series and it's just a one shot. Like I said, an exclamation point on this. So Castlefall will be the second week in June when that releases. For rating for World on Fire, 0 to 5, what are you going to give it?
You know what? There was, you know what, I'm going to say 4.5.
Yeah.
Like, definitely 4.5. You know, this isn't your dad's G.I. Joe. You know, this isn't the traditional G.I. Joe, but it is a good series, and there are a couple of stories that are really compelling.
Yep.
And that shouldn't be ignored just because it's not traditional G.I. Joe.
So I don't know whether, and I'm not looking it up because I don't feel like typing or using my mouse or whatever else. Real American Hero, maybe you can tell me off the top of your head. How many issues has that had over the decades? Like 500 or more? Or something?
Okay. The Larry Hama... Yeah, the Larry Hama stuff.
Yeah.
So with the Marvel run and then the IDW continuation, it's I would say 300.
Okay.
Not counting, you know, just the main book and not counting annuals and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
With the Devil's Do run, let's see. Like over 200.
Yeah, so it's in total for the last 40 years, it's been about, 500
somewhere
issues
in the 500s
of G.I. Joe. And the reason why I'm asking this is because I am one of those people who are not die hard in this franchise. I like certain aspects of it. I like learning about it. Like, I learned a lot of stuff in, reading this series by Paul Allor and the art team that's on it, and that's great. But I also felt like, how can people read? Just in general, I'm not pointing any, like, how can you read 500 issues of really traumatic stuff? Like, this is about war. This is about military. This is about, I don't know. And this is my personal opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, the opinion you're about to hear is TFG1Mike's own personal opinion, and no other opinions really, count, except as far as, like, I mean, they count, but because this is mine, I just feel like G.I. Joe feels like it should be something that should be like this, a 10 or 11 issue miniseries that has a overall focused story, but has those moments like issue 7 or issue 9 that could feel episodic, but could also feel like it's connected to, like, G.I. Joe doesn't seem like a brand that would be, at least to me after reading this, and again, this is the first G.I. Joe comic I've ever read. It just, and I used to watch the cartoon as a kid. I haven't watched the cartoon in years. I actually have the Walmart version of the Sunbow series back behind me. I need to start watching that again. So, but, like, that's what I'm saying, because I'm like this outsider looking in, like, the way I feel about this after reading this story is that, as another really, really cheesy 80s villain said in his 1990 movie debut, or his 1991 sequel, in smaller doses through future mutants. Like, that's what I feel about G.I. Joe as a comic book concept. Smaller is better. Don't give us...
You know what?
Good.
You know what? Honestly, you may have an interesting point. I know that the comics have gone harder than the cartoons.
Right.
But this right here, World on Fire, this is probably the hardest it's gone. Like, it has had, it has had some stuff. You did, the Marvel run did have an issue where Duke, Falcon, and Cross Country were lost 7 of their teammates.
Right.
There have been tough issues, but this is the toughest that it's been. Yeah. I would say that, if you were going to take G.I. Joe and you're going to go hard on it, like you're going to be like, okay, we're really going to make this a war comic, then yeah, doing these small little things is the way to go.
Yeah.
If you're going to be like, I mean, if you're going to do, you know, if you are going to have like, yeah, you're going to do that. You're going to do G.I. Joe, you know, closer to the Joe we know and love, you know, like the cartoons, the Marvel comics, things like that. You could probably do an extended story. You know, it just depends on what do you want to, you know, how do you want to go with this?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Like, where do you want to go? How do you want to do this?
And if this was as hard as G.I. Joe has ever gone, man, was this a great... Like I said, at 4.5 out of 5, I really enjoyed this story. I did not feel lost or feel uncomfortable. I will admit, the one time I felt lost was the bomb strike and Venom issue.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was the agent and she was the, like, he was the spy and she was the Cobra. It's not what it is, obviously.
Yeah.
That was the only time I really kind of felt a little lost. And then I reread it. I'm like, oh, right. Okay, got it. She's the Joe and he's okay. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. I'm very much looking forward to Castlefall when we get to it next month. In between this episode and when we get to Castlefall, we are going to have my buddy Joe is going to come back. We've been doing this for years. We are in the midst of IDW TMNT Reborn, so we're going to do Reborn Volume 2. Steve Megatron, we are going to continue Star Trek. We're actually going to, well, at this point, we're going to continue it. Star Trek Defiant 2 and 3 from IDW, and then Star Trek Overall 6 and 7. And then I got to find somebody. I don't know who I don't know. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with Radiant Black. So that's what's coming up between now and the next time Eduardo will be here for Castlefall.
And by the way, speaking of Star Trek, there was a Free Comic Book Day issue brought out.
Oh, was there?
That is supposed to. It's supposed to set up for. There's going to be a crossover between Defiant and the regular,
the Cisco
there's going to be a crossover
series.
There is going to be, there's going to be a crossover between the two. They're going to, kind of link back up for something called Day of Blood. And
I remember hearing about
set up
that.
for it. The Free Comic Book Day issue that came out like yesterday, as of we're recording this like the Sunday after Free Comic Book Day. It set up for that, so
interesting.
Definitely. Yeah, I would say that hopefully you picked it up. Hopefully anybody listening who's a fan picked it up, and if not, I don't know. Like, hopefully somebody, hopefully it'll be online. Like maybe if you go to Comixology, they'll be offering.
Well, Comixology doesn't exist anymore. It's Amazon, Kindle, whatever, Kindle Comics.
Whatever. Yeah. Well, I know that. I know that back in the day, that they used to do.
Oh no, absolutely! You used to be a couple of months after. It used to be. Comixology used to get them like 2 or 3 months after. By the end of the summer, they usually used to get them. And the one thing I will say, since we are recording this before Free Comic Book Day, it'll be out, or actually right after Free Comic Book Day, it'll be out the Wednesday after Free Comic Book Day. I did not do a Free Comic Book Day episode this year. However, I did link on my Twitter and the GCRN Twitter and the Pullbag Twitter all about our past Free Comic Book Day episodes. And the last thing I said is that even though, at the time, today is Free Comic Book Day, the comics are not really free for the shops. So when you're out getting your free comic books, please do your best to support your local comic shop, whether that's buying comics, a Funko Pop, a statue, whatever it is, support the LCS.
Yeah, that's what I did. I got the Comic Book Day comics, and then I grabbed something else.
Yep.
And
that's what I always do when I go.
Yeah.
I just didn't go this year.
Yeah, well, hey, if you didn't go, you didn't go. I mean, it's like,
It's so weird. I live in a small town now, and it's like a town of less than 10,000 people, and there is a comic book store here, but walking it's like an hour and a half away, whereas driving it's 5 minutes. Explain that to me. I don't understand that, but it is what it is. Anything you want to promote, sir? Anything you got coming up? Anything you want to pimp out there before I go through the closing?
You know what? I'm just gonna say, hey, listen to Marku 42. We're still doing episodes. I think two of my co-hosts, Vicky Jacobowski and Mark himself, have been heavily promoting these comics by these British guys, the 77.
The 77. Yep.
Yep. So listen to Marku 42. We just recently covered Picard season 3. We've got more of the 77 coming up. And I got to talk to Mark and see about handling Guardians 3, because that came out this past weekend.
Yep.
So we got, and I know that a couple of years ago or so, I did do some comic writing with the Seer for Rising Sun, and all I'm going to say about that is stay tuned.
There you go. Very cool, very cool. All right, folks, thank you for joining us here inside the Pullbag. If you'd like to get in contact with us, leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send any email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays: Apple and Google Podcasts. Leave us reviews, please. Spotify and any other podcatching client you choose to use. Follow us on Twitter @GeekCastRadio for the network, @The Pullback for the show. I am @TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
Yeah, mine is, it's supposed to be White Balloon King, but if you're going to put it in, it's WHTBLLNKING. Or just put in Eduardo M. Fryer, and you should be able to find me. If anything, just look at if anything, you can find me probably through my TFG1Mike's tweets.
Yep. I want to make a Ronco joke, but I'm going to avoid that. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network. You can also check out the Pullbag as well as Mark Who 42's universe over there as well. Join us next time when we will be discussing, what did I say, episode 522. That's me and Joe talking about TMNT Reborn Volume 2. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
Eduardo and Fryer.
As always, make your great escape into comics.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose, to defend human freedom against Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world.
He never gives up, he'll stay till the fight's won. G.I. Joe will dare. G.I. Joe!
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepullbag and @geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.